28, 2018 meeting of the Oshkosh Common Council. Will the city clerk please take the roll call?
Allison Osby, Paul Mary, Mugrower,
Here.
Krause,
Here.
Pack,
Here.
Herman,
Here.
Cummings,
Here.
present 5.
Would you all please rise while Councilmember Herman leads us in the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance?
We ask for your guidance tonight as we begin this meeting. May all those who participate in our discussions and our decisions reflect the values that we cherish in this great city. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This evening, we'll start for some introductions for new city staff. So Mr. Roloff, would you please take over?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have two members of our management team, two new members that we'd like to introduce to you this evening. The first person, you may have met her briefly at our budget workshop last week, to Jennifer Messerschmidt. Jennifer, if you could please stand so everybody can see you. Sorry, you got to get yourself out there. Jennifer's our new Assistant Finance Director. She was previously with the town of Lawrence, where she was their finance officer, and she comes with a variety of public and private experience with us. So she actually was filling in as our interim Assistant Finance Director. We liked her so much, we asked her to stay. So happy to have Jennifer on board. And thank you,
Welcome.
Jennifer. And our new Human Resource Manager is Michelle Benke. Michelle's right here. Michelle started, she has a variety of HR experience with the Kohler Company, Spectrum, and most recently Alliance Laundry. And she has her degree with Human Resource Management from right here at UW Oshkosh. So we're pleased to have Michelle and her vast HR experience to join our team. So happy to have her as well. So just wanted council members to meet them, and I'm sure you'll be seeing them with budget coming up and other HR-related items. So thank you to both of them and welcome them.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Next, we have a special presentation this evening. It will be a report from Pam Reuter with Go H&I. It's your annual report. Pam.
Hello, I'll get this set up. All right, yes, happy to be here tonight. My name is Pam Ritter. I'm the Executive Director of Go H&I. The microphone.
You need
Yes,
to-
you do.
You're
Okay.
tied.
All right. Along with myself here tonight, I have Katie Geis. And Katie, will you stand up? Katie is the Community Engagement Specialist of Go H&I. And I also have our board chair, David Rucker. We are happy to be here tonight. I'm going to try and keep this fairly brief and hopefully be available to answer any questions that you might have. I gave you a handout. I'm not sold on that handout. I went with it because it mirrored the report that you got a year ago. So you could see where potential changes were made as far as improvements with the numbers that were given. So I stuck with that format, but I'm going to really try and direct you to the PowerPoint tonight so that you follow along with us here, and we'll cover most of that information as well. Strengthening Oshkosh Neighborhoods is our tagline, what we truly want to have happen here in Oshkosh. Some of the desired outcomes are on the screen. When I go out and present to organizations and groups, it's really quite simple. It's about getting our name out there. That's our biggest problem right now is nobody knows Go H&I, nobody knows what we do. So I became executive director in June, so it's now just almost 3 months, and really working to try and tell people what we do, make them aware that Go H&I is truly a unique opportunity for them as far as the public, private, nonprofit that we are. People will benefit when their neighborhoods are improved, strengthened, or revitalized. And we work very closely. We partner with the city, and the city's goal to maintain and improve the quality of city neighborhoods is exactly what we are doing. We're trying to make the neighborhoods more visually appealing. If a neighbor works on their house, chances are the next door neighbor is going to consider making those improvements as well. It's neighbors helping neighbors, getting to know your neighbors. It increases the safety in the neighborhood. Bottom line, though, it's about improving the value of those properties. A home is probably the biggest investment that most people make, and they certainly should be in a position to indeed improve upon that investment as well. And we're here to help them do that. The neighborhood management piece of this, we are working very hard to, again, make people aware that we have neighborhood associations in Oshkosh. And the good news is we are up to 16 neighborhood associations. I gave you a larger map than the one that is on here. It's on top of the orange folder when you sat down tonight. So the 16 neighborhood associations, really good things happening as people have become recognized within their neighborhood. A lot of it is simply explaining to people, yes, you have neighbors, but you also have a potential to group with a neighborhood. And the nice thing about the Oshkosh neighborhoods is they truly are unique, and they run with those differences and really try and make their neighborhood a neighborhood of choice. And that's exactly what we want to have happen. The problem that I see with our neighborhood map right now, the shaded areas identify those 16 neighborhood associations. There's way too much area that's not shaded. So we have to continue to make our name known, but it's about educating people and making them aware of the true benefits of those neighborhood associations. The Alliance Committee that we meet with monthly is a great tool for that, as we offer education and a forum for those neighborhoods to actually come together and work together, exchange information, and truly be in a position to advocate for some change within their neighborhoods. When people understand that the power of many voices versus a single voice, then again, the benefits with those neighborhood associations become a little bit more meaningful. All right, I'll try and slow down here a little bit. Beyond neighborhood associations, we do work with some real estate development, and completed in April a project on 561 Bowen Street. Lots of good things happening in that neighborhood with other revitalization efforts being made, but again, the bottom line with that particular property in 2016, it was, I think, assessed at $85,000. In April, we sold it for $119,000. So made a significant improvement to that particular piece of real estate. And again, trying to make those effects more widespread within that neighborhood. We'll continue to work on real estate development and look to, but we're also going to try and look to grow some programming, which is educating owners as well as renters about the quality of property, or the importance of quality property maintenance. So we still have room to grow, but this particular investment was a good first start. It's one that Go H&I is going to continue to look for properties as we find the right fit for our needs. One other thing that's happening with a neighborhood revitalization, it'll show up more in next year's report, but we are always looking to look for additional community investment partnerships in Oshkosh, and we just entered one with Habitat for Humanity in the city of Oshkosh, and we'll present a Rock the Block neighborhood revitalization this spring. So good things happening, lots of things for a 1.5 person staff at Go H&I, but things are coming together very well. Over 50 community building events happened in Oshkosh over the course of the last year. The Great Neighborhoods Partnership that you all support exceptionally well. Menominee South was a neighborhood that applied for some of that funding and also fundraised some of their own dollars and developed the Sea Sand and Sailorland Park upgrade down in Menominee Park. A really nice partnership and a strengthening of our Oshkosh neighborhood that happened with that. Katie's position as a community engagement specialist, she works a lot with the Alliance and the neighborhood associations to spend some of their community engagement, community building and engagement dollars that we offer in the form of reimbursements for those neighborhood associations. And again, just getting that word out that there are some incentives for belonging to a neighborhood association and financially reimbursing them for some of those gatherings that they have is perfect and a wonderful opportunity. Go H&I has been at the Oshkosh Farmers Market first Saturday of each of the month. We offer a variety of engagement opportunities for people attending the farmers market beyond giving out a nice grocery bag for them to carry their produce or goods that they purchase. It truly is trying to get them identifying if they themselves are in a neighborhood association yet or not, and knowing whom they can work with in order to move things forward. If they already are in one, who would they contact? If they're not in one, who could they work with to try and create and develop a new association? We also go to, there's a couple of block parties you'll be approving in your consent items. Those are catch my eye each council meeting as well. If they're not in a neighborhood association, we'll try and connect with them as well, again, to offer some of the benefits that can happen with being in a neighborhood association. All right, the budget, this particular, again, pie doesn't tell you too much. The good news from the top budget sources is for every $1 of public funding that we receive, we are pretty close to $2 of private funding. It doesn't include funding as well as some of our volunteer hours in those budget sources, but it is something that we are working to improve. I think that's why I was hired, so I'm working on bringing in those private dollars as well. The budget uses, we're definitely on track. Community building at 37% and real estate development at 34%. We just completed that project this spring with Bowen Street and are always looking for new properties that are a right fit for us. One of the really exciting things that happened in August was the neighborhood night out. You all enjoyed many of those opportunities for neighbors to get to know neighbors or just simply come together and be social. Go H&I partnered with the city. It's the fire department going out as well as the police department talking about some of the safety issues in those block parties that happened. This year we had 13 gatherings, really seems to be an ideal opportunity for Go H&I to really get in the lead of that and see this thing really take off. We would love to do that. We're working on some of the branding issues that were out there from this year's, but we do have the Oshkosh Media video, which shows the recap. If you haven't seen it, I'm happy that I'm able to provide it here. It's on YouTube. We'll take a look.
We have been doing this for the last 5 years, and it's a lot of fun for all of the kids. They like to play on the road. It gets the neighbors connected. I think it really helps you feel connected to be around people you know, and it's always good to help each other out if you can and when you can. We have bubbles, we have root beer floats, free t-shirts. Oh yes, and an adorable puppy.
We are doing a food drive with cooperation of the festival cart that was brought in and the area food pantry that's coming as well. It's a good fun time, and to meet, of course, the safety aspect, which will be the fire trucks and SWAT team, and love that we have the Harley here tonight, and our police officers and a community officer, which is such a blessing to have here. People should start a neighborhood association and be really silly like me, because it brings the community together. You're really starting to find a sense of like you can help each other out. You're there for one another. It's just that sense of building sense of community and for the greater good. It's just a great opportunity, and the city recognizes you, and there's funds to be, had if you're willing to pour forth a little effort.
We actually incorporated just about a month and a half ago. We're basically just trying to clean up our area and let everybody in the area know about the importance of the architects and the history of our neighborhood. And so this is kind of just a little meet and greet for everybody to get to know everybody in the area and what we have to offer in our neighborhood. Being a renter in the area, actually not a homeowner, it's really great because it's given me an opportunity to get to know the history of the neighborhood. The city's been very helpful with us. We're actually in the works of cleaning up some of the signage from the area and just getting to let everybody else in the neighborhood know what we offer everybody else in Oshkosh.
All right. Any questions?
Councilman Peck.
Thank you, Ms. Reuter. It's really great things happening with Go H&I. I mean, obviously, all of us on the council have been involved in the neighborhood, growing and improving our neighborhoods. Speaking of neighborhood night out, you shared a very interesting conversation with me. I'm going to put you on the spot here. It was a little refresher. It was something about that you left Oshkosh for a period of time and you came back. Can you reiterate the comments that you made at that time?
Yes, Tom, I'm happy to. I lived in Oshkosh for 15 years, and in 2005 had an opportunity in Texas. So I moved to Texas 5 years later. Long story short, I needed to come back to Wisconsin with an aging parent. I chose to come back to Oshkosh for the people that are here. It truly, you don't recognize what you have until you don't have it. And Oshkosh is a unique place, and it truly is an inviting place, and it was wonderful for me, being gone 5 years, to see the changes that happened in those 5 years. When you're here, you don't necessarily see that, but many good things were happening, and chose to come back to Oshkosh, and have been very happy with that decision.
Well, we're glad you're here, and I just wanted to get that out there, that there are some great things happening in this community, and you are correct. If you are here all the time, you may not see them as much because they come in incremental changes, but when you're gone for a period of time, you see the difference. But no, thank you very much.
Yes.
Keep up the great work.
Thank you.
I see no other questions. Thank you, Pam.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is one public hearing. This requires 3 readings, after which we'll open up to the public for comments and then the council for a vote. So bear with me, there's a lot of streets in here. It's Resolution 18-346, approve final resolution vacating a portion of North Westfield Street, all of unnamed street between Rath Lane to North Westfield Street, portion of North Eagle Street, all of Budamore Street, all of Showman Street, all of Water Street, portion of Rainbow Drive, all of public alley between Showman Street and Rainbow Drive, all of public alley between Budamore Street and Showman Street, portion of Graham Avenue. Plan Commission recommends approval. Second reading, Resolution 18-436, approve final resolution vacating a portion of North Westfield Street, all of unnamed street between Rath Lane to North Westfield Street, portion of North Eagle Street, all of Budamore Street, all of Showman Street, all of Water Street, portion of Rainbow Drive, all of public alley between Showman Street and Rainbow Drive, all of public alley between Budamore Street and Showman Street, portion of Graham Avenue. Plan Commission recommends approval. Third and final reading, Resolution 18-436, approve final resolution vacating a portion of North Westfield Street, all of unnamed street between Rath Lane to North Westfield Street, portion of North Eagle Street, all of Budamore Street, all of Showman Street, all of Water Street, portion of Rainbow Drive, all of public alley between Showman Street and Rainbow Drive, all of public alley between Budamore Street and Showman Street, portion of Graham Avenue, and Plan Commission does recommend approval. I do want to mention that these streets were platted in 1848, 5 years before the city of Oshkosh was established. So they've been there a long time and not much has happened. Pam, is there anyone from the public who registered to speak?
No one is registered.
Okay, at this point, I will declare the hearing closed, bring it back to council for a motion and a second.
So moved. Second.
Discussion? Councilman Herman.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Burch? Okay, thank you. The city manager gave me a pretty good explanation of why we're vacating these, but if you, just for the public, as the mayor said, these are streets that were plotted a long time ago, right-of-ways, some of those types of things.
Correct.
I know there's some concerns of neighbors in the area that it could have an impact. I'm going to just kind of give us a little bit of information more so that the community kind of knows what's going on here.
Can we pull up the map? I think the map
I
will
think
help.
Jake's going to get it. There you go.
There it is. So you can see all the streets that are being proposed for vacation. You can see where the vast majority of them are already in park use. So the vast majority are going to be going back into the park usage. I think we have one there on Rainbow Drive that you can see that it's going between 2 property owners right there. That one will go back to private use, but the vast majority of them are going back into the public usage.
Okay. None of these would have any impact on future growth in the area or our master plan for Rainbow Park or any of that?
No, it should actually help our Rainbow Park, because then we're getting rid of the right-of-way status and we'll have more options for reuse of that parkland as public use.
All right, thank you.
I see no one else wishing to make any comments or have a question, so would you please take the roll?
Mugrower,
Aye.
Krause,
Aye.
Peck,
Aye.
Herman,
Aye.
Cummings,
Aye.
carried 5.
Next, we have the citizen statements to council. And Pam, has anyone registered to speak at this?
No one is registered.
Right. Then we'll move on to consent agenda items. These items are of a routine administrative nature that are voted on by the council in a single roll call vote. Staff recommends approval of all items. Any member of the public or common council may request that an item be removed from the consent agenda for discussion. Pam, has anyone registered to vote or speak?
No one is registered to speak.
Okay, I'll bring it back to the council for a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? I see no lights lighting up, so would you please take the roll?
Mugrower,
Aye.
Rousey,
Aye.
Hack,
Aye.
Herman,
Aye.
Cummings,
Aye.
carried 5.
There were no items removed from the consent agenda, so we'll move on to pending ordinances. And these will be voted on this evening. The first is ordinance 18-461. Adopt general retention disposition schedules pertaining to police department records and telephone and video surveillance records related to city facilities, and amend public records ordinance to include definitions and clarify provisions pertaining to city audits. Pam, is anyone registered to speak?
No one is registered.
I'll bring it back to the council for a motion and a second.
So moved. Second.
Discussion? Would you please take the roll?
Mugrower,
Aye.
Rousey,
Aye.
Hack,
Aye.
Herman,
Aye.
Cummings,
Aye.
carried 5.
Next, we have ordinance 18-462, approve zone change from institutional in parens I to institutional with plan development overlay in parens I-PD for property located at 1331 High Avenue. Plan Commission recommends approval. Is anyone registered to speak to this ordinance?
No one is registered.
I'll bring it back to the council for a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Please take the roll.
Mugrower,
Aye.
Rousey,
Aye.
Hack,
Aye.
Herman,
Aye.
Cummings,
Aye.
carried 5.
We now have 3 new ordinances, and there will be no action taken on these items at this meeting. The first is ordinance 18-463, designate Clairville Road as a through street at its intersection with Compass Way, so that Compass Way stops at the intersection. Pam?
No one is registered.
Next, we have ordinance 18-464, approve zone change from suburban mixed use, in parens SMU, close parens, to suburban mixed use district with plan development overlay, parens SMU-ED, close parens, for property located at 1159 North Kohler Street. Plan Commission recommends approval. Pam?
No one is registered.
Thank you. Next is ordinance 18-465, adopt ordinance to regulate murals. Pam?
No one is registered.
We have new resolutions. The first is Resolution 18-466, approve combination Class B license for Carmel Crisp and Cafe. Pam?
Shonda Anderson, 542 West 16th Avenue.
Anyone have any questions for me? Do I have to go over this for you guys again? So Carmel Crisp has been in downtown Oshkosh since 1933, and we've never served alcohol, but I do now. Anyway, it's just for events. But all of a sudden, we've had numerous requests to put like a bottle of wine in a gift basket. And we can't do that, and no matter who you talk to at the state level, they'll explain to you you can't sell it and serve it under the same roof. And there's apparently just zero way around that, shy of breaking laws. Okay, Dino's gone. Anyway, yeah. Anyway, so I had talked to Mark actually about like how to get around this, or and literally I was told you got to put the walls back up, and since I've spent 11 years tearing down walls for the store, I really just didn't want to put another wall back up. So I just am hoping that I can get a full liquor license. And I know that it's kind of wasted on me. I understand that because there's just not a lot of, they're golden around Oshkosh. And I feel bad in taking one. I would offer, like, if someone wants to come and, I'll give it back or something, it just is, I would hate to keep something from coming to Oshkosh because they need a liquor license, especially since I just, it's the craziest thing why I can't sell and serve. I just think it's goofy. I'm like, well, what if I sell during this time of the day and serve during this time of the day? Can I then do it? But anyway, that's all I got. I got to warn you, I'm really tired from last night, so no entertainment here tonight for me.
Which we appreciate.
Any questions?
Does council have any questions?
No.
Bring it back to the council for a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Herman.
Thank you. Just for the clerk. I understand Chandra's dilemma, and I know that she applied when we had 3. Is this the only one available, or do we have more than 1 liquor license at this time available?
Currently, we have 3 open licenses.
3 open, and are there any other applications at this point?
No.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilmember Mugarauer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to say thank you to Ms. Anderson for being patient while council worked through it for you, and hopefully it helps you in the business. But thanks for being patient and waiting on it.
Councilmember Peck.
I'd just direct the officer to disregard that comment that was made earlier.
If there is no further discussions or questions, would you please take the roll?
Mugrower,
Aye.
Krause,
Aye.
Pack,
Aye.
Herman,
Aye.
Cummings,
Aye.
carried 5.
Resolution 18-467, approve specific implementation plan for parking lot expansion, 1331 High Avenue. Plan Commission does recommend approval. Pam?
No one is registered.
All right, bring it back to the council for a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Would you please take the roll?
Mugrower,
Aye.
Krause,
Aye.
Pack,
Aye.
Herman,
Aye.
Cummings,
Aye.
carried 5.
Moving on to Resolution 18-468, approve land disposition of surplus property to H2 Oshkosh LLC, proposed outlet 1 of Lakeshore site. Plan Commission recommends approval. Pam?
No one is registered.
Bring it back to the council for a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Mr. Moorhour.
Mr. Burch, if you just wouldn't mind giving the public a little information on this and clarifying what we're doing with this land and how we got here.
Basically, what we're doing is providing, I'm trying to pull up the, Jake, there's
There should be a map.
one more that's a little bit better in the presentation. There we go.
Map should be there.
Well, we'll pass through a little bit. Basically, what we're doing is proposing to dispose of land back to the developer along, who's developing property along Oshkosh Ave. As part of the development process, the developer has actually dedicated lands for the extension of North Westfield and along Oshkosh Avenue. And as part of that process, we're proposing to dedicate back lands to him to make up for some of those lands they lost through that dedication. I'm trying to find, I thought we had a really good map in here on that. Here kind of shows Outlot 1 from the survey, so you can see on the left side, the Lot 1 picture, that shows the lands that we're proposing to go back. You can see north of the red stripe there, that's the actual road right away that's coming through there. That'll be North Keller coming through. And I don't think we have you can see on this particular Exhibit C, you can see how North Westfield is extended through his property. What you're not seeing is what was dedicated along Oshkosh Avenue as well.
Which was about, if memory serves me, about 20 feet of
Yeah, that sounds about right.
that
Could
we
even be
acquired
more
or
than correct.
dedicated for right away on that side. So
Correct.
good.
Just to chime in, that's for the option that the council chose with the 4 lanes with the median.
Correct.
And that leaves out Lot 1 next to it, that the intention, I think if I remember correct from the Plan Commission meeting, the intention of that would be to deed that potentially to whatever development happens to the west
Yes.
of this development. Okay. That's all I have, thanks.
If there are no other questions from council, would you please take the roll?
Mugrower,
Aye.
Kraus,
Aye.
Pack,
Aye.
Herman,
Aye.
Cummings,
Aye.
carried 5.
Next is Resolution 18-469, approve general development plan amendment for a hotel, commercial and retail uses at 1634 through 1810 Oshkosh Avenue. Plan Commission recommends approval. Pam,
No one is registered.
bring it back to the council for a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Councilman Herman.
Thank you. Yeah, I guess, Mr. Davis, you want to just kind of go over the ins and outs, because we've changed the classification of this area, so that's planned development. I know it's just a planned development at this point. Doesn't really hold them to anything at this point. But does it meet the criteria that council has put together? And that, once it starts, we're okay with everything going forward?
Yes, to put it in context, if you recall, we created a new zoning district for this
Correct.
area along Oshkosh Avenue to complement the Oshkosh Avenue redevelopment and Oshkosh Corp Global Headquarters. It's all in that corporate business park zoning, and we really raised the standards for the exteriors of all those buildings. So Oshkosh Corp was the first building that went through, and the hotel is the second building that's gotten to that point, and this general development plan identifies the location of the hotel and in general the exteriors at this point. Correct me if I'm wrong, but they are good on 3 of the 4 sides, and they're like 1% short on one of the sides for
That's
this,
correct.
for the surfacing.
That is correct.
Which was similar to what Oshkosh Corp turned out to be.
Correct.
Now, in this upgrade of just not only building materials, does it also dictate what can go in that area and what can't go in that area?
Oh,
Because I don't want it to look like a frontage road.
Yes.
Okay, that's the last thing I'm going to support, is a frontage road on Oshkosh Avenue. So it does dictate, does it talk about what businesses, let's say, can't go in there or can go in there, or is it case by case by case by case?
Well, first we start with the zoning ordinance, which is corporate business park, and that dictates what type of uses can be permitted in there as an outright permitted use, what can be allowed as a conditional use, and we did prohibit several uses within that particular district. The other thing that we have going in that area is that the entire area is zone plan development. So anything that's coming back, anything that wants to be approved in that area has to go through the plan development process. Mr. Hoopman has gone through one general development plan. He's now coming back and amending that development plan specifically for the hotel. He's showing those uses out front. Those uses are what's there, or the building layout is how it is right now. He's going to have to actually come back for a specific implementation plan to develop those going forward. Same as with the hotel, we're approving the general development plan, or if we approve the general development plan, that then gives them comfort to then start going and getting all the designs for the rest of the hotel, and he has to come back for a specific implementation plan as well.
And maybe you're not at liberty to answer this question at this point, but have we had any other developers showing interest in that area?
Well, I mean, we've had Casey showing interest in that area.
Right.
But it's, just through discussions with the developer and other developers in that, or other property owners in the area, the interest right now is not strong because it's considered a B site because it's off Highway 41. If you're on Highway 41 and you have frontage, the property is pretty expensive. Off the beaten path, it's not considered an A site by the national retailers and things like that. I personally think that things are going to change once Oshkosh Corp gets in there and you start to see the impact of all those workers and employees and that big building that's going to be in there. I think that's going to change. I think that's 2 to 3 years out. But I think the future is good for that area.
Okay, thank you.
Just one comment. The Plan Commission really has not seen any final architectural renderings of a hotel. We've seen
The general, only the
general sort of like Legoland instructions. I mean, it's just pretty much black and white, and it's not real specific.
And that's the next step, the
right.
specific, and that would
That's
go
right.
back to Plan Commission, and it would still come back to the council.
Council.
Correct, but they did come back, because we've been working quite extensive with them on the whole exterior materials in the Class 1, and they've got it to the level where they're at just about compliance with an exterior material requirement, and it's almost all brick, but then that's going to be, there'll be different colored brick and will be banned, but we're going to see that when it comes back at specific implementation time.
Right, so as they said, it'll go through Plan Commission, then come to the council for final approval, so, yeah, I agree. We do not want to see Oshkosh Avenue become another frontage road. We've got enough of those. Councilmember Krause.
You mentioned businesses that would be prohibited from that area. Can you just kind of remind us what basis those are, and just to kind of reassure developers that might want to come in, that would be reassured that certain businesses wouldn't be there?
Well, I think the outright permitted or prohibited land uses had to do with adult uses, so adult stores, strip clubs, things like that.
Tattoo parlors.
Tattoo parlors, vape shops, head shops, things like that, and don't know if there was another one in that. I don't have the code in front of me, so I can't, but it's in that.
Storage might have been prohibited.
Outside storage, yeah, I think we had some issues with outside storage, so that was a prohibited type of use.
Okay,
So
thank
I
you.
think though it's a small list, but it's one of the things that if it gets into the area, sometimes it can change the dynamic of that, so we felt it's strong enough to include that in there.
Very good.
I see no other council member wishing to speak, so would you please take the roll?
Muglauer,
Aye.
Krause,
Aye.
Heck,
Aye.
Herman,
Aye.
Cummings,
Aye.
carried 5.
Next is council discussion, direction to city manager and future agenda items. First, we have review and approval of economic development plan as it relates to city manager's 2018 goals. And I believe Councilmember Herman asked to put this on the schedule, the agenda.
Yes, I did. I don't think all our council members were on council at the time, but there was a tentative economic development plan that was brought forward to the council, and I'll let, I don't know, Mr. Roloff's got the copy of it?
Yeah, and I
It's
believe.
available, and we have not distributed that because he told me it was going to be part of the comprehensive plan, but I know that 3 of us council members currently have a copy of it. I'm sure Councilmember Krause and Councilmember Muglauer do not have a copy, and I'm almost thinking that Councilmember, Deputy Mayor Palmieri doesn't either. But you want to speak a little bit on
Sure.
about it?
We did, in fact, over the weekend, after I had that conversation with Councilmember Herman, provided the council members with a copy of a draft from 2016. It was our Economic Development Strategic Plan. And this was in keeping with our strategic plan that we had identified the need to have something like this. Originally, that was back in 2012. It got delayed a little bit with the formation of GoEDC. And this had gone to the Plan Commission for discussion, but not approval. And I think the thinking was at that point that we would eventually incorporate this as our economic development element of our comprehensive plan. And that was in the process in 2016. But that as well, that's being done in conjunction with East Central Regional Planning Commission. East Central and staff had a workshop or a open house with the public last evening. It was probably about 15 to 20 people, I'd say, altogether. So it was a decent turnout. And essentially, everything in this plan is being incorporated into our comprehensive plan, except maybe some of the real detailed stuff. But the idea is that they would be incorporated in. So eventually, it's going to become incorporated into our comprehensive plan. I think the discussion with Councilmember Herman and me, we talked about it relative to my goals, and there were numerous sightings in this document that I can bring to your attention, or staff can bring to your attention, that address, from a planning standpoint, some of the issues that council would like to see. The implementation side, it depends, but a lot of the inventory that the council had sought is really contained in this plan, and staff is updating this as part of the comprehensive plan review, and that was some of the information that was shared with the public last evening. You're going to be seeing this plan. There's a draft copy of the comprehensive plan. We're going to give a copy to council. It'll be going before the Plan Commission next month. And if that goes well, it'll be a council for the September 25th meeting for your consideration, assuming that everything goes with the Plan Commission. But I'd encourage you to read it. I think it's going to take care of a lot of the inventory and just general information issue. So the real issue will now be the implementation part. There are references in there, for example, about, I wouldn't necessarily call it an aggressive marketing plan, and that was one of the discussions that Mr. Herman and I had about the industrial development land. But it does have an exhaustive list of all of our industrial parks with details on that. And there's a few little things based on what I heard from council about shovel-ready lots and things like that. We probably need to put a little more information there. But I think we've got the makings of what council had initially requested that'll be here. And so that'll be up for your review. And that's why it was kind of misleading. It made it sound like you were going to review it tonight. We're going to be giving it to you this week, and then you'll have it for a month before you have it in your next council meeting.
Great. And we all got an email from Ms. Nyfort with the documents, so if you haven't had a chance to look at it, I mean, I was going through like 4 years ago stuff when I came across it, and I go, wait a minute, because we all thought it, you know, we put his goals together, that we didn't have this document, and we actually do, it just never became an official document. But I'm glad to hear that staff is using it, and it refers to Go EDC, so a lot of what we are looking for is in this document, and I think if they are using it as they say they are, obviously I think that's moving us forward and where we want to be with the goal with the city manager, and so I'm glad we were able to save him some work and just update some things and make it a project that we will be comfortable with and as part of our strategic plan moving forward.
And I took the liberty, because of that conversation, I took a look at the fourth goal that the council set for me regarding housing, and I think a lot of the inventory, if, when you get a copy of the comprehensive plan update, I would draw your attention to chapter 3, and there is a lot of data on housing units that I think you'll be very interested in seeing. So similar to the conversation.
Yeah, the only
we had.
concern I had is that that data is pretty old already by the time we're going to be approving it, isn't it? I mean, it was from
2010 is the most recent census
2010
for a complete census.
for a
They
complete
do-
census, so we're already going to be almost 19 by the time we approve it. How relevant will a lot of that information be as far, I mean, the dynamics of it are probably going to be relevant, but are the numbers really relevant?
I wouldn't say we look at trends long-term, and I think you can extrapolate a trend based on 1990, 2000, 2010, so you can kind of see the direction housing has been going in Oshkosh.
Okay.
Maybe not the
I mean, I know we're
specific
going to a
number
lot
for
more
2018.
multifamily housing than single-family housing. Some of that has to do with just the growth of the city and things like that.
Yep.
But I guess the indicators don't really ever change. It just kind of updates itself.
Yes.
When applicable, we've tried to incorporate some current data. If it's only census data, it's usually 2010. But for example, assisted living options, I think staff literally just went out and got that data. That's 2016 data. So whenever applicable, we try to do that. But you're right, we're getting towards the end of the decade, and some of that data can start to get a little wrinkly. So we have to acknowledge that and really track the trends and make sure that the trends are consistent.
I think with H&I, you know, and what Ms. Ruder was talking about tonight and some of the different neighborhood associations, I think we can get a pretty good flavor of what's happening in our neighborhoods, what improvements the neighborhoods are doing. We're investing money in H&I. They're reinvesting that into improving housing stock within the city. So I think
And
we have,
leveraging it
I mean, we're moving forward. I'm not saying that that's not useful information, but just, like you said, it's almost the 10 years up. And if we're just approving it, we need to probably tweak it here and there and not put it on the shelf like the economic development plan kind of got put on the shelf, I think, in our minds at least.
Well, staff has been working on it continuously since then. If you
Yep.
have a chance to read that, the transload was a high priority
Yep.
for us to finish. The creating Go EDC and working on the marketing with Go EDC was a high priority. and the Buckstaff redevelopment was a high
Right.
priority.
No, I,
There's a, there's
all
a
the way
lot of
through it,
things
if you
that we
read it,
worked
it's
on.
there. I guess the
Yep.
key thing for council and those new council members that haven't seen it, it does lay out those things that we talked about in closed session and things that we wanted to see in the city manager's goal in that area, all putting together, what's there, what's available, where we at, what's our, moving forward. That all that information's there and it's all valid, and it's going forward very well.
Thanks for not throwing that out as you were cleaning out your house.
Yeah.
I just have one comment or question. As I recall, and this goes back a few years, obviously, we have something like 600 and some acres of industrial land for,
Yeah. Yes, we did an inventory.
it's
of all
about,
the
give or
industrial
take,
land.
600
Yep.
acres of land, okay. Okay, we'll move on to our next budget workshop is September 19.
That'll be at 5 PM. The emphasis will be on capital improvements and debt financing related to capital improvements.
Okay. Councilman Peck.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to throw something out there, if we could, is Mr. Roloff, possibly if you could get this on the city's website. The Oshkosh Police Department has made the Sweet 16 in the lip sync contest that is out there. And people can go out to the Northwestern's website and vote on that. Not that I'm somebody that, says we should skew the vote or something like that, have dead people vote or whatever, but I think this is a really neat thing that the police did. To be recognized as one of the 16 top videos, I think is really neat, and I just want to bring that to the attention of the citizens of Oshkosh. Let's get that out there and promote it. I know that the Oshkosh Conventions and Visitors Bureau has promoted it out there, but let's get it on the city website and let people get out there and hit the vote button and try and bring a little bit more of great news to the city of Oshkosh.
We already are pushing it on social media a lot. That's working well, but we'll look at the website as well. Thank you for the suggestion. Hey, whatever it takes to win, right?
Officer Harris, were you in that? Were you on it? Oh.
Okay, I see no one here unless Tom or John want to make a statement, where there's no one to make citizen statements. Are there, Pam?
No one is registered.
So we'll move on. There's nothing under council member announcements and statements, so I'll turn it over to city manager for any announcements and statements that he may have.
Just the memo in your packet regarding an agreement for a water system capacity study that has a lot to do with the Clearwell project and making sure that we're getting all the information to the DNR and the Public Service Commission. Part of me wishes we didn't have to do it, but that's the process we need to go through relative to the Clearwell project. And then update on Oshkosh Corporation, just the latest update there. Things seem to be progressing. Alan had a meeting with some of their Oshkosh Corp staff, and I think it's just on autopilot and going very well. The bids are being opened this weekend, or on Friday, for the infrastructure, which is the Westfield and Keller Street. So cross your fingers, we get good bids, and we'll be reporting that back to you shortly. And then lastly, just as a follow-up, staff will be meeting on Thursday at 8:30 a.m. over on the 808 Oregon Street with the property owners out there about the parking issue. Really appreciate their patience with that. We're not enforcing it out there because, frankly, we can't change it until the council changes it. So we're working closely with those folks and appreciate them being very patient and getting that done. And we'll report back to council after Thursday's meeting.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Peck.
Mr. Roloff, possibly Mr. Robbie, we've had just a little bit of rain the past couple of days, I know. We've made significant investments in stormwater. Any issues that we've seen related to stormwater?
I'll let James talk about it a little bit because social media got a little concerned because South Park, but I'll let Mr. Robbie talk about that.
We have had some localized street flooding. City manager mentioned South Park. Certainly Ohio Street between 10th and 11th did experience some flooding overnight last night and again earlier this afternoon as we got an inch and a half of rain in under an hour. The South Park lagoons were full to the brim with this afternoon's rainfall event. We did also get some reports this afternoon of some other localized flooding on Wisconsin Street and Jackson Street, just north of Murdoch, and a few other reports coming in. Streets Division staff are out monitoring the situations and, checking to see if there are any inlets that, may need to be cleared or other things. But we certainly have been experiencing some localized flooding. The ground is saturated, so whatever falls straight runs off. And when it comes down hard and fast like it did this afternoon, we are going to experience some issues.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
All right, with that, I'd look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Adjourned.